I want to be
The only one I correct is Appalucci. So like people say I Appalucci because she has an I in front of her name.
Oh yeah, it's Appalucci.
It's Appalucci. Nobody will. She'll never correct anybody, but I'll correct.
Thank you for correcting. Because
Appalucci.
Yeah, Appalucci.
Appalucci.
Okay,
like just two Italians looking out for each other.
We are here with stand-up comedian Liz Miele. Oh, so excited to have you on the show again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think, was I on here? It was either, I think it was pre-pandemic or right in the pandemic.
What we were at my apartment, I think.
It was your apartment?
Yeah,
okay,
I remember we were at my apartment.
I was like, what studio were we at?
It could have been pandemic. Could have been right
so
before.
It was like, so it was like, I think the 2020 range, but I don't know. But I genuinely was just like, okay, things are different.
Yeah, a lot different. And you're one of those comics that I'm like, you're like a comic. You know, you fucking work the road. Like I look at you in the similar way that I look at Nikki Glaser. Like you just fucking pound the pavement and do it and get in the reps and just be doing the road all the time and like making it like, I love your focus around stand up. It's inspiring to me.
I love it. Like, I mean, I'm tired. I'm really tired. It's
part of it.
And I don't know what this is. I think everybody does this, but like I don't know I'm tired until it's too late. Until like I'm like crying for no reason.
Love that.
Like, genuinely, like nothing even. Usually like something bad happens and I overreact and I have like a meltdown. Instead, I like literally was just like, I'm gonna watch something as I eat breakfast, and I just started crying. And I was like, oh no, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah. I'll
like truly
overreact.
like, oh baby girl.
Yeah.
Rest, girl.
It's
like,
okay.
But I genuinely was like, I have enough like self-awareness to be like, oh no, like I've overdone it.
That's great to know, because then when you start crying over something and somebody else is in the room, you're like, why is this happening? It's nice to know that I'm tired.
I snapped at my agent, which I'm not somebody like, I'm pretty like I'm an angry person, but I can
really?
I act extremely.
Oh, I love this. We'll talk about that in a second, because
I'm a very angry person, and if I can't contain it, I call up a friend and they just kind of let me yell it out. And then my stand-up has really actually been, as I become more myself on stage, has been very much an outlet where you're just kind of yelling about the same problem every night and you're like, I don't even know why I'm angry.
Right. It's the best antidote for anger that I've found. I'm not that angry of a person to begin with, but I feel like I don't even feel anger since I started stand-up.
It helps so much. And before, like when I was young, I was very monotone because I was scared to show who I was. I was scared to be out of control.
Right.
I was scared to fumble my words because like my mouth doesn't work as fast as like my brain sometimes.
Yeah.
But as I think gotten better at this, as I've become more myself on stage, I yell to the point where like I've lost fans where they're like, she seems angry. And I'm like, I've been angry the whole time.
Women should be angry. How can we not
love
be?
an
How
angry
can we
woman?
not be? I feel the same way. We've been talking a lot about like you weaponizing the word bitter, and I
get it a lot now.
I've just leaned in. I'm 38, Liz, and I go, yeah, I am bitter, and it's because men haven't stepped the fuck up in the way that we have, and I'm fucking bitter about it, and we all should be bitter and stop trying to weaponize it to make us less fuckable. I'm done.
It's so ridiculous. So
yeah.
I came out with a special a couple weeks ago, and I just posted like kind of like my first clip.
Murder Sheets, watch it now.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
But you know, I'll use titles provocatively,
sure.
like, you know what I mean?
We have to. We're running a fucking business.
We're trying to suck that algorithm's dick.
So the bit itself is about when, you know, I have a boyfriend now, but when I was online dating, it was all these older men, like men in their mid 40s, late 40s, being like, I want to have kids someday. And I was just like,
That's hilarious.
We know
exactly.
it well.
That's hilarious.
Like I remember being like, and I don't want to have kids, and I've said it in my stand-up before, and even in that bit, I don't say that I don't want to have kids, but it shouldn't even matter. The whole point of a bit is, why do men get to saunter into fatherhood when we are constantly told we have a biological clock? And I basically say, if I have a biological clock, you should have a societal clock. It is unfair that your profile is like, so I'm not. And so
on fucking Hinge, when a fucking 45-year-old clicks someday on kids, then I go, I need to do stand up now.
Dude, and it's,
I'm getting angry. Now, you
that
know
is
what?
fucked.
You brought my anger back.
Yeah. So sorry. I'm like holding you. We're just scream yelling at each other. But like, I'm proud of the bit, but like it is, and it's always split down the middle. It's down the middle of older dads being like, "You're not wrong."
Yeah,
it does suck because I
love that.
The title I gave was "Nobody Wants an Old Dad."
Right.
And what's funny is I even had some friends that were like a little kind of hurt by it, but their perspective was, I'm on my third kid. And I am older and I will be an old dad. And I go, actually, that's so weird because I'm one of 5. My dad was both a young dad and an old dad because there's a 14-year age difference between my siblings. And like, my dad was really old, like now that my brother's like in his 20s. And so I was like, but that's not what my perspective is at all. The whole time is that there's this constant like, you expire at 25. If you're going to have kids, you have to have it now. Or the assumption constantly assumed that I want to get married and have kids. Neither of those things have ever been on my bucket list.
Of course you do.
But that is how they weaponize it.
It's infuriating.
Like as if you are you are not valuable if those things don't happen. That's the only contribution you are making.
Not only that my life's not valuable, but that I'm lying to myself.
Yep.
I don't know what my hopes and dreams and goals are.
Fucking infuriating.
Right. And there's no way to really say anything back without like
sounding like a bitter cunt.
Not even like a bitter cunt, like just like delusional or like justifying it, which I don't have to justify anything.
Absolutely.
I've spent my entire life pursuing my dream, and I'm one of the very fortunate people that get to do it. I like my life. And do I want a partner? Absolutely. Do I want something stable? 100%. Do I want them to father my cats? Absolutely. Yeah. Feed my cats.
Give your cats a daddy.
Yeah.
You've done honestly some great work for cats. Like the press you have done for cats has made me like cats more.
Exactly.
I agree, actually.
Thank you. We all just got to give it a try, and everybody just hasn't met their cat yet.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Some cats are feral. That's it.
So are men.
I had a cat. Yes, 100%.
Whenever you're like, I don't like men, I'm like, you just haven't found your man.
Totally. But also too, like going back to that, any guy who would get offended over that, it's so crystal clear now that I understand more about how humans tick. When a guy is getting pissed off about that, they're just insecure about the fact that they are an older dad and they haven't done the work to come to terms with that.
100%.
It's okay to have an old dad. It's okay.
I don't
choose to be okay with it.
I don't even
You're
care.
just expressing a fucking opinion of yours.
And my thing is, I don't even care if you've wanted a family your whole life and you haven't met the right woman yet, or it hasn't worked out, or work took a priority, whatever. But it's this idea that it's going to magically happen, or this idea that like, I'll get to. And then somebody actually made a good point. They're like, well, those guys are looking for 25-year-olds. And I was like, then say it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Then just say that.
If you owned it, I wouldn't think you were such a piece of shit.
But also, it is just immaturity. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. For a 45-year-old dude to say, I want to have kids someday having not pursued it. Like there's, I have empathy for somebody that, like, I have a friend that like just got divorced, and he really wanted a family with her, and it just didn't work out.
Sure.
So it's like, life doesn't always pan out the way you want it to, but at the same time, it was just showing the parallel between like women and the constant pressure they have to have kids and what you are if you don't have kids, and then guys just kind of like sauntering and like just like kind of like walking through daisies being like, if it happens, it happens. Like,
totally.
And you're like, what?
I think any woman, if you said, oh, there's this guy's dating profile, he's 45, and if he wanted to have kids, he put someday. I think every woman, regardless of their situation, would laugh at that. And the fact that a man wouldn't laugh at that is just because it's like, you don't understand,
at all.
But it's like, be curious. Come on, man. But you don't have to be, but it'd be nice.
Or just say, like, because if you like, a woman would never also not write someday. We would write yes because we are actively working towards it, right?
For sure.
And when a woman says yes, that doesn't mean fucking tomorrow.
For sure.
It doesn't mean come and me raw on the first date.
And then we do, if you do want kids, but we do, if you do want kids, which I have several friends that have. Like I had 2 girlfriends that had babies during the pandemic. And, one of them, her doctor called her a geriatric pregnancy.
Yes.
So many times. She was 36 and she goes, and she's a veterinarian. She's like, I understand medicine. I understand what you're saying. If you tell me this is a geriatric pregnancy one more time, I am going to stab you with everything in this office.
We need another word for that now.
Like, you can say that there's higher risks in X, Y, and Z area, blah, blah, blah. But like modern medicine is changing. You're a doctor. Do
Words
your best.
matter. They affect you.
Stop telling me I fucked up also, by having a kid at 36.
If you're a pregnant woman in America, it's high risk anyway. Yeah. We have the most maternal death rate, highest maternal death rate of a developed country. Come on.
My OBGYN also, she had her first kid at 50 and she encouraged me to do the same. So I love her. I love her.
Amazing.
She just said, she was like talking to me. She was like, your lifespan for a person your age, all of us, is going to be like close to fucking 100, girl. She said, live your life. She's my inspiration.
My hips. That's all I could think is like, I was like, yo, if I don't stretch one day, they hurt.
Yeah.
I can't.
Think of how self-actualized a 50-year-old is. I know not all 50-year-olds, but like the older you get, the more you know yourself. I imagine she's probably a good fucking mom.
My OBGYN is one of my inspirations.
Wow. That's really cool.
I love this woman. And then everyone DMs me, who is she? I'm gatekeeping that too. All right, come the fuck at me.
What a selfish whore.
But that specifically, like you can't, like I tried changing my gynecologist and nobody's taking new clients. And
Are you serious?
Like, dude, I've tried changing twice. And then I kind of had to come around with her and I was like, she's not that bad. And now I like her again. You know what I mean? Like it's like
making lemonade.
You're in an abusive relationship.
I had to do work to love her again, and I've come back around.
But that's good.
But I went a year. Both my the guy that does my taxes and my OBGYN, I was trying to flip, and it was like I was like,
no new clients being taken either way.
Damn, dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, I just need a pap smear, and I want somebody to be nice to me about it.
I tried to get a pap smear at Planned Parenthood, and they were like, "There's no appointments until next fall," and I was like, "Okay,
well,
gotten too much publicity lately."
Yeah. I'm gonna stop donating.
Yeah.
This is how this is gonna be.
Yeah, I should have some privileges here.
I don't know if you've seen your office, but I gave you that rug. I gave you those free condoms. I paid for those.
Yeah, I've protested people that with signs of fetuses outside.
I did that.
You also mentioned before we started recording that you are in a loving relationship.
I am.
For the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in love. I've loved people.
But that doesn't always mean.
Yeah,
as we all know, that it's loving.
I've loved men.
That's
and
a good poetry book. I've loved people.
I've loved people. It is probably the healthiest relationship I've been in, and I could say on my end as well, because we've talked about it. Like he's 40, I'm 38. Like and we both grew up in Jersey, so we're both Jersey kids, and we always more and more creepily. Like I met him on Hinge, but like more and more we're like we have a lot of like 1 degree away connections.
Cool. I love that.
You know what I mean? Like what's a good example? Okay, Mindy Kaling. Not Mindy Kaling, Mindy Tucker, who does all the pictures and stuff. So Mindy, we've known her forever, takes great pictures. Her husband, I interned with him at Conan when I was 20.
Dude, everyone knows him. I went to school with him. I went to college with him.
But that's like one of his friends.
This is
that
crazy.
He went to, it's like, and maybe that's just like comedy. We know a million people, so at some point, but like he's an editor, and like his, like I keep like,
that's cool.
You know when you're being like a girl and you're like, have we met in a past life? Like mine's always like, would we have dated in high school? We wouldn't have.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah, and would we have met organically? Like would have had, you know what I mean? Because
and you could have.
Yeah, like another editor friend of his, he's dating a girl that I was like, was married to a girl that I was like an intern with. I interned at a lot of places too. I was like,
I interned at Conan too.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, I was a Conan intern and I was a Daily Show intern.
But that sounds fun.
Yeah, they both were great. When did you intern at Conan?
When I was a junior in college, so that would have been like 2006.
I think I was 2004.
Oh, okay, I just missed you.
Yeah, so it is kind of like. But it's like it's like he doesn't do comedy. He doesn't edit for comedy, but you kind of edit for
adjacent.
It's like, so I think what I've noticed, both in the sense that like I wouldn't want to have dated anybody before 30. Like it was a mistake to date me before 30. And I truly apologize.
Why do you say it was a mistake to date you before 30?
I mean, I was scared. I mean, I think I was scared to show who I was. I think I was scared to be open. I think I was scared to actually care about somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm a good friend and I'm a good girlfriend in the surface sense, right? Like you call me, I pick up. You need something, I'm there for you. You need to borrow money. I don't even have money, but I'll figure out a way to get you money. Like I was raised, because I'm the second oldest of 5. I help raise my little brothers. I'm a caregiver. I know how to do it. I've had to relearn to like to do it because it was a lot of like you had to do it. And then after a while you feel resentment because you feel like you can't say no.
Sure.
So I've done a lot of work in the fact that like I've come back around and I like who I am, but I also know how to separate myself and have healthy boundaries around it.
That's amazing.
But in relationships, I knew how to do all the surface stuff, and I'm great the first year because I'm just like, what do you need? Fucking Oh, you want to hang with your friends? Like, I'm busy too. Like, I'm great. But when you want to connect with me, I couldn't. Like, I just couldn't. You couldn't talk to me. I was defensive. I could apologize, but I didn't know what I was apologizing about, so I couldn't change. That you wouldn't actually like me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, you know, I started being healthier. Then I got into relationships and I was like, oh, these dudes don't like me. like it's really like, and then what was even sadder, like my last relationship, I think the hardest to like the healing of that breakup was that I stayed longer in it knowing that he didn't actually like me.
Yeah, you betrayed yourself. That's a tough pill to swallow, man. Because you gotta face that, and you're like, I fucking made my life harder for years.
I was sad.
Yeah, man.
But also, if the guy didn't like you, why didn't he break up with you? I don't understand why men don't just break up with girls they don't like.
Because as much as we get criticized for like, I can fix him.
Sure.
I think they do that the same, but in a different way.
Yeah.
You're both getting something unhealthy out of it.
Yeah. And like I don't think he's a bad person. And anybody I've dated, like I don't date bad people. I like a nice guy. I feel very fortunate, but I also like a distant guy, apparently. I mean, not now, but like I will drop anything to be there for the people I love. And I have never dated somebody that would do that back.
Yeah.
And
well, so then you didn't have an example of it. So you're like, sometimes it's like, yeah, I know everybody talks about this whole reciprocation thing, but if you've not experienced it, you're like, is that a myth? Is that weird? Like,
I have experienced it.
Okay.
I have incredible friends. I have, and not just like one or two. I've worked very hard both as a person in therapy and to just be better. But like, I'm really close with my siblings. I'm close with my friends from elementary school, from high school, from college.
Yeah.
Open mics. Like every part of my life, I've retained friends the whole way. So I have friends for 30 years, for 20 years, for 10 years. You know, I have a friend I just made a couple of years ago. We get coffee once a month.
You've never had it romantically though until now.
Yeah. And
it's different.
What made me break up with my ex-boyfriend, and it's like one of those, like, it becomes mythological because like you don't even know, you're like, I have to tell everybody. I remember we were in bed, it was like 4 years into our relationship, and he was like, you're my best friend. And
did your stomach sink?
And I was like, you're not even in the top 10. Like, I didn't say that to him.
Sure.
Right.
But like my first thought was, you're not even in the top 10.
Yeah.
You're not, you're my worst friend.
That's a clue, girl.
Yeah.
And I broke up with him like 2 weeks later
That's
because
good.
it was like I needed that
you a
framing.
gift. Yeah.
I'm so glad he said that.
To be like, oh my God, I'm the best person in your life. You're the worst in mine.
Yeah.
And it was that. And then my little sister being like, you seem unhappy. And I was like, I've been unhappy for years.
Yeah.
And
she knows you and she knows what your happy looks like.
And I'm not an unhappy person. I get stressed. I get overwhelmed.
Sure.
But I'm not unhappy.
Yeah. You very even keeled and seem like you have like a very healthy sense of joy in your life.
Yeah.
But maybe sometimes too, like you said, you grew up taking care of your siblings, and then a lot of times it came out of obligation.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just get used to that obligation mode, and we're like, well, this is what I'm used to. And so when it transfers to a romantic relationship, you're like, well, it feels like obligation, but you don't take the time to interrogate it because you're used to it. So you're like, I guess this is for the course.
I also I know how to take care of people. And so I think love sometimes gets twisted into I take care of you well and you appreciate it. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot
Yeah,
of sense.
it's our favorite phrase, mouth to nipple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's basically when like romantic love becomes like maternal love.
For sure. But it's weird that them getting their needs met was like, I'm doing a good job. Like there's something about
because you're an achiever, and I mean that's why it's so. I'm like that too. Like I'm an achiever, and so like that's why kind of one of the main reasons I love Taylor Swift is because we get this huge example of what type A overachiever wanting to be a good person looks like, and also how you can still be unhappy in that role, right? Because I mean, she's unhappy. She let us know. I mean, I think she's happy now with Travis Kelce. She was unhappy for a long time. She did her album reveal. She did the whole Eras tour with a broken heart, right? But she was the top performer. And I mean, I think like there is something that feels good about just like succeeding in making someone feel good. Like I find a lot of like, I don't know, there's joy in that, but I'm constantly breaking up with guys because I'm just like, my mom and dad would never treat me like this. Yeah. And so everyone's like, why are you always going through boyfriends? I go, because I just think my mom and dad would never treat me like this. Why am I putting up with this from some fucking dude I just met?
None of my friends would treat me like that. Exactly. And I think as women, and especially as somebody that is an overachiever, and I do expect a lot. Like I think I spent a lot of time where people are like, well, you're high maintenance or you must be a lot. And it's like,
oh, I love that when people say that.
I am, but I also give just as much, if not more back.
Absolutely.
So the same idea that like, what I really love, like I love like art, like I love any kind of like pottery, paintings, street art. Like I just love doodle a cat. I'll follow it. I love it. That's my entire Instagram. And it's truly like, I've realized that if I'm nervous, I kind of scroll and I just try to appreciate, like I'm looking at the stickers on your thing. I love
you and I have
stickers.
Bonded before about home decor. So you and I both,
even like I walked into here and I was like, I love that they
I just put the shelf together today. So I'm like,
I was admiring.
You're the first guest to have this.
Yeah, you're the first guest. But yeah, I remember talking to you about like gallery walls in our apartment and how like they're so important, and like art that like just makes your soul want to scream is just so important to be surrounded by. And like, I totally get that. And so, but you are also the kind of person where like you want to experience life to the fullest. So if you're going to have friendships, they're going to be amazing reciprocal friendships. And like, you know.
And so the reason I brought the art is because this thing kind of went around where somebody would literally hand make something out of beads that took them 4 days and it would cost $1,000. And somebody would be like, well, that's too expensive. And they would be like, is it too expensive, or you can't afford my work?
Yeah.
This is what this expertise took X, Y to, hours to learn. This is how long it physically took to do it. These are my expenses. It's $1,000. And when I started to look at what I bring to any relationship, a friendship, being a comedian and there's a booker and, doing shows to a relationship, I've done the work. I've been in therapy for 10 years. I've taken care of anything from I've taken care of my baby brother when he was sick, when he was a baby, to him being 30 and being in and out of mental hospitals. Like I know how to show up for people, and I've worked really hard. And if I'm going to give you 100% of what I think is my value, I do think it's of a higher value. Yes. Is it for everybody? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But if you want this, I want something even remotely close back.
Yeah.
And when I say that, like, I'm in a loving relationship, it's not that it's like the first time I've ever felt love or ever thought somebody loved me. It's the first time somebody showed up equal or more at times than I have.
Yeah.
And it's
it makes you realize how little you tolerate. Like or how like sometimes you look back. I totally get that. That's beautiful. And you look back and you're like, wow, I was so appreciative of an ex for doing this, but it's like, that's like bare minimum. Why was I giving him props for that?
Yeah. And you would never tolerate it from a friend. You'd be like, are you mad at me?
Yeah.
Like, you know what and so I think in some ways it is uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable to be taken care of the way I've been taking care of other people because I've thought I didn't deserve it.
Yeah, well, a lot of I was talking to, I don't know if you were here in the chair for this, the book, The Mountain Is You. It's a fantastic book about self-sabotage. And one of the things she talks about is, I believe it's like Gay Hendricks talks, she quoted this Arthur Gay Hendricks. We have, each human has an upper limit of happiness. And when we enter these certain situations and our happiness level goes higher than what we're used to, it feels uncomfortable, and that's when we self-sabotage, or that's when we stay in a thing because we're like, no, that happiness is too scary because I don't know what that's like. And I thought that was an interesting concept because it's like, well, why wouldn't we want to be happier? Like that logically, like I want to be happy. That's my only goal in life, is to be happier, to be a better person, and be as good as I can. But it's like, yeah, I guess sometimes being fully happy, like, is a little uncomfortable, and it's why we wouldn't immediately leave a situation like that.
I've noticed that being happier than my parents, who are unhappy people, I feel really bad.
Same. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And like, I've noticed that even with friendships, like I worked really hard to be financially stable in this business, just being a stand-up comedian. And
bravo.
It took forever. And I'm not flush with money, but like, I'm not worried. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And I have a lot of friends that are worried. And I've noticed, like, whether it's like, if you're going through a breakup, I know how to kind of sit in that. Or if you're having like family problems, I know how to sit in it. But for some reason, like when friends go through financial problems, I've started to avoid them the same way that I'll avoid my parents, who are just naturally unhappy, because I'm like, you're not doing anything. So like if you're doing something with your financial stuff, but if it's just the same, because that's what it is. It's just like credit card debt and overspending and doing like bad habits the same way that my parents, it's like they could be happy. They could.
Well, also
they
there's
have
a lot
all
of people,
the resources.
There's a lot of people in this business who are like, I have no money, but it's like, okay, well, you just gotta come to terms with like only doing stand up isn't enough, and you have to fucking get a job. And I have no patience.
That's not a failure.
I was uploading guys we fuck from the bathroom at the spa that I worked at when I was at the reception. Like, I have no fucking time for this. Get a job. Stop being so proud.
It's tough when someone won't help themselves, and you're like, dude, it's right there.
I have done the craziest shit for money. I mean, not like that. That sounds wild. I mean, like babysitting children I didn't know. Not like that was the crazy thing.
But
Shout out, Sarah.
I hope you're doing well in college.
Yeah.
That is funny. The kid I babysat, I think he's in college, which is just wild to me. I'm like, I used to give you a bath. I don't know how to process that. But I think that same thing where it's like, I did whatever it took. I was like waitressing and babysitting and doing like, and then even now, like even when I was a full-time comic, I'm like driving 6 hours for $100 and like, you're just doing crazy shit.
Oh yeah.
So, and then as well as taking risks and being innovative. But I mean, many times was like, oh, I guess I have to get a day job again. And I was fortunate that things came together. But like, I think the same way that I look at that not helping yourself financially, I see my parents, and like I've told my dad, like, hey, I don't want to hear it anymore.
Nice.
Like, you know what I mean? Like when he owned a business, I was like, honestly, you either get rid of that employee or you stop telling me about it, because at some point, like, you are the boss. So I don't understand. But then also, like, now that they're retired, like, I think that's their equilibrium. Like they're
like addicted to being unhappy.
Yeah. And like, there's this belief, and you know, my parents are in their late 60s. I get turning around at any point going down a path is scary, right? Yeah. Whether you've been married for a long time, whether you've worked at a certain place for a long time, whatever it is. But it's like, even if the potential is to feel better, why not even try for the potential?
And I don't buy that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You fucking can. If the dog does, but like I totally, the unhappy parents thing, like that was one of the biggest gripes with my parents, who I don't speak to them anymore, but like their unhappiness depressed me in a deep way. Cause I'm like, you guys could do something about this.
But I also want to save them. I mean, like that's the hardest part, is like, my mom's sad and I just want to be like, fucking tough. Like they moved away, like they were in Jersey and they moved, and I'm like, move back to Jersey. You like Jersey. You grew up in Jersey your whole life. There's nothing wrong with you moved. You thought it would be a better move. It's not. Go back. They're fine. They retired. They have the money. Go buy a little townhouse. Go buy an apartment. Like, like half of us, like I said, I'm one of 5. So almost all of us are in New York now. Like 3 out of 5 of us are in New York.
That's nice.
One's on the East Coast, and then my other sister's in LA. And so, like, whenever I go to the West Coast, like, my mom met me out there because she doesn't like flying alone and stuff. But I don't know. I can tell a little bit that when I feel good, that there's a part of me that's like, I'll do whatever it takes to help you if you're helping yourself. Yeah. And isn't it like, I don't know if it's like a myth or like one of those like those stories and you don't know where it started with, but it's like, you know, Chris Rock is on the road. He's doing a road gig. His car breaks down. He's on the side of the road and nobody will stop and help him. He's waving, nothing. Nobody will stop him. And eventually after an hour, he just starts pushing his own car, and then 2 cars pull over and start to help him. And the whole philosophy is like, people help people that help themselves. And who knows how true this is, or it could be about somebody else. But I do think about it often when I feel like just drowning. And I'm like, let me take one step, even if it's the wrong step, in the right direction, whether it's like my finances or like even like, you know, Rachel Feinstein is the reason I have a boyfriend. I
love Rachel.
Yeah, I love her so much. But like I didn't date for 3 years. I was really unhappy. I felt happier by myself. And I was truly scared of everything in my life was good, and I always felt sad when I was in a relationship, and I could tell that I didn't want to be in a relationship because I clearly was repeating a pattern and I didn't understand it. But also I would, you know, I was lonely, so I would try online dating. It would be the only thing that ruins my day is being on those apps. Yeah. I would do it for a week, I would do it for 3 weeks, and then I would delete it. And then I did a road gig with Rachel. I was driving her home. And she had all these jokes about meeting her husband and how like she desperately wanted to be married and had a kid. That was her goal. Yeah. She wanted it. And she had all these super hilarious jokes about like, they're like, they love barbecues and like going to a barbecue with her friends. And she had jokes about how she met her husband. So we're driving back. I was like, can I ask you like a serious, vulnerable question? I go, I clearly want to meet somebody. I can feel that I'm ready to meet somebody, but I don't want to do it. Like I'm about to delete all the apps. It makes me really sad. I hate everything about this process. And she told me this story about how she was kind of in a similar place, but you know, clearly wanted bigger things like marriage and a kid. And she reached out to like an old high school friend, and her friend was like, you have done everything you need to do to be successful in comedy, right? And she's like, yeah. She's like, then do that with this. Like it's gonna suck. And it immediately when she said that, it just kind of clicked because we've all done the open mics. There's not one good open mic. There's never been a good open mic.
You rarely leave an open mic feeling on top of the world.
But I felt amazing. I was a teenager when I did it, but I felt amazing because I was just trying. Like it just felt cool to be there. It felt cool to try it. Even when I bombed, I'm like, well, that wouldn't work. But
a reframe. You need a reframe.
And I was like, oh my God, these dates are open mics.
Yeah.
Just go do them.
Yeah.
Most of them are gonna suck.
Yeah.
Most of and it literally and like the other kind of thing she said is like just do the work, ask friends to set you up, go on the apps, go and like my thing was like I'll wear a skirt and leave the house. That was like really big for me. I truly was like you're not gonna meet anybody not on the apps indoors with your cats. So I would like at the very least I would get up, put on a skirt and at least leave the house, try to talk to one person, even if it didn't go anywhere. I started having for 2 years, I had to do one non-comedy thing a week.
Nice. That's a good one. I love a homework assignment. Yeah. Giving yourself a homework assignment.
Even if I didn't, I would go by myself. I would do it before shows. I would go after shows. Even if I only stayed for 15 minutes, it was just get yourself just in a place to like meet new people. And I did. I met a lot of cool people. I made friends. I dated a few people, like we went on some dates.
That's great.
But it was like I needed to get out of my literal physical habits, let alone mental habits. But it was Rachel that really like, I went on the apps, I started taking it seriously. I started being more open and that's, you know, it was truly like 2 weeks later that I met my boyfriend on Hinge. And it was funny, like he came to the cellar with me maybe like 5 months into us dating. And I was like, oh, this is my friend Rachel. This is the one that I told you was like the reason I was on the apps. And he was like, can I send her a text message? I was like, sure. And he sent me a text to send to her. And he was like, thanks for encouraging her. She's like my favorite person.
Oh,
and it was like it was like really nice. And it's like,
that's so beautiful.
There's also something like, I have an old joke about the apps, you know, being like, that's not how I want to meet my person. Like this kind of old school, like,
of course. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this was, you know, the joke is 10 years old, but I still
stands.
And I still feel that way, even though it's become more prevalent. But like my story with my boyfriend, even though I met him on Hinge, is kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? It's unique in this own, like, you know, the same way that we watch movies now and everybody's texting and, you know, like they're meeting people online, like all the weird kind of ways that we show technology in movies and television. I'm like, oh, my life has just been updated in the same way. And I can see that as we get older and, you know, we're in our 30s. It's not that old, but like you do get stuck in your ways. Like,
yeah.
I have habits. I have things that have worked out. There's things I don't want to change. I'm allergic to yeast. There's this really weird bread that nobody likes that is legit disgusting. It is,
but you can eat it.
But I toast it. I
Nice.
put some jam on it, and it makes me happy. And I kind of feel like I found my bread. I don't need to find other bread. I don't care if people make new bread. They didn't have it at Whole Foods. And I was like, hey, are you not ordering this gross bread anymore? They just moved it because like it was touching good bread. But it's like, I started to realize like, the same way that you stop listening to new music and your habits are the same way. And and your philosophies, right? My philosophy is that you don't meet anybody good online.
Right. And if that's a story you're telling yourself, then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Of course,
sure.
you're not going to meet anybody good online with that attitude.
No.
But it's also not true. And we know that as comedians because all of our fans are coming from line.
Yeah.
And I love fans. And even before that, so before I was a person with fans, I was a fangirl myself and still am a fangirl. And I mean, I ran a Spice Girls newsletter for 5 years. I met up with these people in real life. Like I forged friendships. I have people from like a Tim Curry Yahoo group that I was in. Like I fucking love meeting people online.
We need more reminders. I think like the like going on a dating app and both men and women alike have experienced just situations. I think it's more so straight women, but like that you're just so exhausted by humanity and that this one person or these 10 people don't represent the whole, but the bad, more depressing people are the loudest. Yeah. So it's difficult to denoise yourself. And so it takes somebody stepping in and going, hey, here's a different way to think about this. And it's just revitalizing. You're like, oh my God, this is a much more exciting way to think about this process. And then you can kind of give it your all.
And I've had to reframe everything. I've had to reframe, my relationship to food. I've had to reframe my relationship to working out. I've had to reframe my relationship to my friends as, they've moved away or had kids or quit this business or whatever. And it's like you're constantly having to change and grow and reframe stuff. But when you care, when it's important to you, like my friends are important. You moved to Tennessee. I guess I'm doing a gig in Tennessee. Like, you know what I mean? You figure out a way to keep your friendships. But I think as dating has morphed and changed, and it's always been hard, and I've never been a big dater. Like I've never, like I would go years without dating, date a little bit, find a boyfriend, date a boyfriend for a while, go years without dating. Like it was always, I've never not done that habit. The lulls got harder and the trying became more taxing, especially because everything else was good. Before it was like it was bad and maybe a boy's gonna save me. Now it's like it's good and maybe a guy's gonna ruin it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, as I've changed and grown, it's, your priorities change.
Yeah. And you ebb and you flow. And I think a comfort zone is a very like toxic place to be a lot. Like a comfort zone is what hinders most people.
For sure.
We don't want to leave it because it feels so comfy. But it's like, if you get used to like overriding that, your life can be like super beautiful.
And I'm able to do it with comedy. That's like the weird thing is that like I think we constantly have to change and morph in this business, and it's difficult, but you do it because you love what you're doing and you want to get up on stage and you want to connect with your fans and you want to write new material. But like, I don't know, man. Like, there hasn't been enough out. Okay, there's tons of stuff out there about like the perfect relationship, right? But it's always just seems like fictional,
elusive,
and then the reality is what you live in, and that has been hard. So you're just like, am I chasing a unicorn, and is it a good use of my mental space and time to be chasing this unicorn? And I think more and more I kept being like, maybe I'm not somebody that's going to meet somebody. And then you go, well, if that's what I believe, I'm not going to make an effort. And so I can be honest that I was like, I'm probably not going to meet somebody. I might as well be happy in 9 out of 10 areas.
Yeah, that's a pretty good success.
But then when you want something, it's to a disservice not to try.
Absolutely.
But you then start to not realize that you put this little thing in place that says like, oh, I'm not trying because I don't deserve it, or it's not going to happen, or it's not real. And so I don't think I realized I've had that like space holder of it's not real for most of my life,
Yeah. Right. Wow. That's beautiful. You're really evolving and growing. And now you can like enjoy this beautiful relationship. It sounds.
He's such a good man.
That's great. It's nice to like, I'm dating somebody that I'm like, I'll like just think about like, fuck, I love him. Like I'm so God, he's the shit. Like, I'm so happy. Like, what a lovely, I'm honored to be this person's partner. And it's like,
that's how I
wow,
feel.
that's pretty cool. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah. I truly don't know if I've ever been in something where like, I'm incredibly anxious and like I worry all the time. And I don't know if I've ever been in a relationship that I don't worry, which is weird.
Yeah.
What kinds of things were you worrying about previously?
If I fucked up, if they actually love me, if they love me, you know, my schedule. Like I've had many talks with him from the beginning because I started dating him right before I was about to tour to get ready to shoot my special. So like,
that's a rigorous,
Yeah. So like in a month and a half, I was shooting a special and I was on tour for like 3 weeks. And I remember like we were only a couple weeks in and I was like, I'm going to be gone. So if this is like, I don't know if this is going to continue to move forward, but if it is, like, you let me know what you're comfortable with and if you need to see other people. Like I was like very open. He's like, I can handle it. He's like, I've had long distance girlfriends. I was like, okay, you know, I'm being honest about my schedule and my life. But like, you know, then it got a little bit of a lull afterwards. And then I was like, hey, things are going to pick up again. And I was like, I just kept checking in with him. And he's like, I appreciate that you're checking in with me, but I'm not worried. He's like,
nice.
I love you. I care about you. I know what you do. I understand your schedule. You know, he's busy with work too. And he's like, I'm getting ready to be in Europe for 3 weeks. And like, I was like really worried about it. He's like, I'm busy too, Liz. Yeah.
That's awesome.
he's editing this show and it needs to be done by the end of June. He's like, it kind of actually worked out perfectly. He's like, I'm probably gonna have to go back to LA. You're gonna be away. He was just like, he's like,
great. Yeah.
Like stop. But like I check in a lot because of all these worries, but like, I'm proud, and that took work. I used to never check in. I would just worry. And every single time he was just like, he's either like, A, don't worry, or B, like, let's come up with solutions.
Yeah.
And I've never been like...
Oh, a proactive solution. How nice.
Couple as a team.
I've never been on a team.
Oh, it's really awesome.
It's really nice.
I've been on a lot of teams, just not with a man. No, I've been on some teams with men. But yeah, no, I mean, like putting it in the work, and then also like, it's just like, I think dating someone who's busy, it's like, dating someone who sees something greater for themselves outside of the relationship. Like that's a good person.
Exciting quality.
Yeah.
And man, when you both are in it and you both put effort in and you both have careers of your own that you love so much, like, yo, the sky's the limit. That's so nice.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then also trying to enjoy it because I liked him right away. And so the beginning nervousness is like, oh no, I like someone. Like, oh God.
Yeah.
And I remember I called up my little sister after like our first date and I was like, I'm worried because I actually genuinely think this guy is great and I want to enjoy it even if it's 3 dates. Or 3 months.
Yeah.
And so it was probably one of the first relationships that it's like, I never get to enjoy the honeymoon phase. I'm just going to try to enjoy this even if it doesn't turn out the way I thought it would.
Yeah.
Because you're like immediately worried about the demise.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. With any opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's like, you never get to enjoy the fun stuff. Like, you know, I just did this thing for After Midnight and it was super fun. Everybody was super nice, but I haven't been on TV in 5 years. And I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then, you know, my boyfriend and my mom and my sister came and they were like, how was it? And I was like, I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
Don't remember any of it. Like, I was like, we'll watch the clips. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. And that's almost how my life has been. Where it's just like, how'd that date go? And I was like, I don't know.
I wasn't there.
I was just like, I think I picked the wrong eyeliner. Like, I just like, you know what I mean? Like just focusing on stupid shit.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't not be in my head. So I think some of the work is like, I have to actively be like, I'm here, I'm doing my best and whatever happens, happens. And I'm just going to try to enjoy it. And that's been helpful in all aspects of my life.
Yeah. Divorce, like not clinging to an outcome is like kind of the key to happiness.
Yeah.
And enjoying the process of it.
Yeah, it's so hard.
It's so hard. But it seems like you're doing really good. How do you stay, like, this is something I sometimes struggle with, but I feel like maybe you have a good advice on. Like, when you find yourself like, oh my God, I'm not being present right now. How do you snap out of that?
So, I mean, sometimes I'm not being present because to be present is to have all my feelings. And I've actually also learned that doesn't necessarily have to be true either. Like I don't need to be present for the bank line and I don't need, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like, as somebody that's really angry, if like my flight's delayed or whatever, my first thought is like, I'm very present that I'm not on a plane right now. And I will
too present.
And I will, you know, be like, well, what work can we get done? Cause we have Wi-Fi, or, you know, who can we call that we haven't caught up with in a while? Like, and try to like utilize that kind of thing. But when I'm not present and I feel like I should be present, like I sometimes truly talk to myself and go, this is a moment that you've wanted before and you're letting it pass you by, right?
Yeah.
Like, I started cooking more, and it's kind of nice because I'm not the best cook, but my boyfriend doesn't know how to cook, so he doesn't know. And he loves that I'll cook and I'll come over his place and I'll make us dinner. So I'm like cooking, he's telling me about our day. I'm stressed out because like I'm dyslexic and I'm not a good cook. So I'm just like, I don't know what that says. Also, a fourth of what? And like, I'm just like, so he's like genuinely like sharing his day and is super excited and is being like really flirty and fun. And I'm like, the peas, Evan, the peas, like just being crazy. And he has his arms around me and I'm about to be like, you can't touch me while I'm cooking.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I want this. Why am I pushing this man away? And I was just like, I literally was just like, hey, I turned off the stove. I let him finish his story. I was like, all right, I'm ready to cook. Do you need anything else? And like, I had like a moment where I was just like, instead of like snapping because I'm overwhelmed because I think he's going to judge me for like burning something, why don't I just enjoy this moment that like a man is telling me about his day? I would have loved for my ex-boyfriend to tell me about his day. Like
your ex-boyfriend didn't tell you about his day?
He didn't talk to me. I don't know what I was doing. I don't.
Can you give his number? That sounds great for me. I would love to not hear about a man's day.
I think you dated Corinne's soulmate.
That sounds hot.
But you know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, because the most beautiful moments in life are not usually when we accomplish the thing that we've been wanting to accomplish. Those are absolutely beautiful. But like, just looking into somebody's eyes, or like creating or writing a great joke, or like being on a creative project with somebody and like having a good writing session, like,
oh, it feels awesome.
Oh my God, what is better? Or like going out with your girlfriends, or like hearing your friend who's brokenhearted and really listening to her, like, or just looking at a tree.
Yeah, dude.
Fucking trees are amazing. And like, or like when you slice open fruit, like that's why I love cooking, because it's like when you slice open like vegetables and fruit, you're like, holy shit, this was a fucking seed. That is insane. That's beautiful. There's so much beauty that we miss out on every day.
You know what's so silly about that? I was on the road and I got a bunch of raspberries, and raspberries are always pitted, right? But
wow, yeah, I guess they are.
I know you don't even think about it, but it had the leaves, and I was like, and I pulled it out, and it had like this, and I was like,
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I've never seen it either.
I know, and I was like, I literally, like, truly like a dork. I was like, I learned something today.
Yeah,
learning is so fun.
Yeah,
like a little kid.
That's so great. But that's the best moments, and like, yeah, and then when you can learn to be present with another person, it's like, oh wow, this is like next level amazing.
And I know how to do it. Like I probably have been disassociating most of my life, and probably like a low hum depression when I wasn't like a full depression. And I'm very grateful to my therapist. I'm grateful for the friends I've had through every version of myself. But I think the one thing is that now that I don't disassociate, and now that I don't have this low hum depression, I know what feeling decent feels like. Mm-hmm. And so I can tell when I'm anxious, which I've been quite anxious lately, and I can be like, okay, what can I do to fix that? Who can I talk to?
Yeah.
And I listen to my body and my brain more than I ever have before. So I think I am more present in the sense that I feel better, and I know what feeling better feels like.
And when you don't feel good, you know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, to just be with yourself. Discernment is beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. And like, so I was getting anxious about cooking, and I had to be like, why am I anxious about this? And I was like, oh, because I can't focus at two things at once. And I'm not good at either of these things.
Yeah.
I'm not a good listener. I'm not a good cook. Like, let's pick one.
Would you previously just reacted to the fact that you're anxious?
I probably would have yelled at him. I probably been like, dude, like, I can't talk to you right now. As opposed to like, he's like giddy talking about his day, about a meeting. And I'm like, I love that. I love that he's like sharing his day with me. What am I doing? It's just peas. Like, what are we doing here?
Right. That's beautiful.
It's a good moment. I remember with my ex-boyfriend, we were trying to watch Cheer, and I fucking hate when people talk during TV shows. I mean, my whole life is dedicated to media. I went to film school. I'm like, please just don't. There's a million hours in the day to talk, not when we're doing that. Yeah. And then it was same thing. He was like trying to tell me a story that he was excited about, and I go, this is modern technology, bitch. You have a remote control and you have a pause button. So I just paused it, and I was like, tell me what you're thinking. Yeah. And then we went back to the show and I was like, wow, wasn't that an easy solution? Yeah. I'm not mad. I don't miss what's happening on Cheer. And he still got to tell me his story. Like it is possible. You can have it all, you know?
Yeah. You really can have your cake and eat it too, Corinne. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a journey.
Yeah.
It's really, it's beautiful. I think it's like a product of getting older, but like when you have to fight for your inner peace, like it's not fun and it's not like healing. One thing I wish I knew was like when you go set on that journey to like figure yourself out and get to know yourself for the first time, it's not fun
at all.
God damn, is it the opposite of fun and terrorizing, in fact. But like what's on the other end of that is like, oh my God. And then when you have a foundation for yourself, like I think, Corinne, you've always had this of like, bad shit's
the only thing I've had.
Yeah, it's amazing though, because bad shit's gonna happen till the day we die.
Yeah.
Yes.
Happy surprises, good surprises. People are gonna lie to us. They're gonna disappoint us. People are going to come through when we didn't expect them. Like all of these moments, we're gonna keep experiencing them. But like when you have that solid foundation, you're like, okay, whatever was gonna happen, we got it. It's okay. And it's like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And the fact that like, it's just a wild thing to earn.
I talked to my therapist today and I was like, I think I'm just struggling with anxiety lately. And I was like, and I think what kind of brings me down to earth is like, I know that between having financial stability and emotional stability, I'm doing better than like 95% of people.
Yeah.
And it's like, I have to remember that, and I earned both of them. I worked really hard for both of them, and they're both something that you have to continue to nurture and you know, kind of take care of. But at the same time, like I am fine. And I will be fine. And I've done the work I've done enough work that I can enjoy it, and I should enjoy it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And it's been very nice to watch you just like amass all these followers and your specials doing so well. So, because, you know, we're all petty bitches in this business, and we keep tabs, and like there's people who you're like, man, that person worked their fucking ass off, and goddamn, do they deserve that? And then there's people who,
one of those people is.
yeah, then there's and then there's other people, but I'm glad you're in that first group. So congratulations on all your success and continued success, and tell people where they can watch your newest special and where to find you on tour and all that good stuff.
So Murder Sheets, it's my new special. It's on YouTube. I have 4 free specials on YouTube if you want to see all of them. And then I'm touring a whole new hour called Space Camp if you want to come see a live show.
Oh my God. Did you go to Space Camp?
No.
I went.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm like, I love it. It was great. It's so fun.
It's so funny. It's about washing my cat in the washing machine and how I think I sent it to Space Camp.
That's awesome.
Oh my goodness. Wait,
that's fucking awesome.
Fine. I was like, is your cat okay?
He's fine. Before I tell the story, I want to preface it with he's fine.
Okay. He's fine. We can all enjoy it.
But the whole run through is that I think I sent him to Space Camp.
That's so cute. I can't wait to watch
went somewhere.
All right. Thank you so much, Liz. Watch Murder Sheets on YouTube and all her other specials. See her on tour. She's a great watch. This has been Guys We Fucked, the anti-slut shaming podcast. We will talk to you next Friday. Bye.